know it's a Saturday. I know, guys. I know, I get it. I'd rather be like also, resting, but we've got work to do. We need to make sure you guys get your license. Alright, so last week we discussed a lot of things. We went over a lot, okay? And we finished up our discussion on PPE, right? The use of PPE. Now, very important to know though, you cannot just, like rely on that you know how to use it or what's the sequence of putting it on or taking it off. One of the things that you will be asked also when you take your exit or your boards exam is they're going to ask you specifically the type of isolation for that kind of disease. Believe me, that's going to come out. And you want to make sure you have that because that's what they're also going to ask you on that. That this specific disease, you need to know the isolation that needs to be used. And you need to make sure also, here's the thing, when they ask you on certain types of disease that are contagious, guess what? If there's an option right there that says isolate immediately, guess what? That's the right answer. Because any type of contagious disease, you're welcome. Any type of contagious disease, the immediate action is to isolate first before you do anything else. That's an exemption to the rule when it comes to what? Assessment. Why? Why is that the case? Because if you do your assessment on a contagious disease, guess what? Everyone else could get sick already by the time you're done with your assessment. Let me give you an example. If you have a patient and it says there they have a diagnosis of meningitis, what type of isolation precaution is meningitis? Droplet, right? So it's a droplet precaution, write that down. That's one of the things they ask a lot, exit or NCLEX. Meningitis is a droplet precaution. Because it's a droplet precaution, it can easily go into like what? The saliva. So if there is an option there on the answers that you're gonna pick that says isolate immediately, guess what? That's the right answer. Why? You want to isolate that patient first, so that patient doesn't come in contact with anyone else, and after isolating, that's when you do further assessment. Because why? You are prioritizing safety and infection control there. And you need to do that for any type of contagious disease. Let me give you another example. Pneumonia. What is pneumonia? What type of isolation? Droplets. Don't be shy. You're just only one here. It's like Vegas here. What happens here doesn't come out. Alright, so yeah, don't be shy. Participate. Pneumonia, droplets, right? Same thing. What should be the immediate action on a patient suspected of pneumonia? Isolate. Right? Here's another one. TB, tuberculosis. What's tuberculosis? Airborne. Anyone suspected of TB, what's the immediate action? Isolate. Here's another one. C. diff. What is C. diff? Contact. Anyone suspected of C. diff, what's the immediate action? Isolate before you do anything else. Okay? So, those are the most common ones that you really have to remember. Although, try to as much as possible go over some of the other contagious diseases as well and make sure that you know the type of isolation. Okay? Now, when we discuss immunology in our med-surg, we will discuss another specific type of isolation that you will see on your exit and when you take the NCLEX, which is the neutropenic precaution. That's a special one. The reason why it's special is because if you compare it with other isolation, neutropenic precaution is for someone who we don't want to get sick. The other isolation precaution like airborne, droplet, contact, right? We put patients that are sick in there. But for neutropenic precaution, we put patients that we don't want to get sick in there. Why? Because they are patients whose immune system is what? Very weak. Okay? They're immunocompromised. That's what we call as reverse isolation. So when we go to immunology, you will see we will discuss that also. But for the meantime, Make sure that based on our discussion last week, try to remember also as much as you can different contagious diseases. There's a page in the PowerPoint with lists, okay, that I put there of contagious diseases that you need to know specifically based on their isolation. Because that's what comes out of your exit, that's what comes out of your NCLEX. Okay? Alright, so now we will continue with part 2 of concept mastery. And there's never an exit or NCLEX without dosage calculation or math. Okay, here's the thing though. In NCLEX though, there are sometimes you're gonna have an NCLEX test with maybe just one question like this. Or sometimes if you get the other version that's really rare version, you might actually get 0 of this. Why? So the reason for that is because in NCLEX, this is actually considered an easy question. So if you're getting this, not good. Why? Because that means that the computer knows that you're not doing well and it's only giving you what? Easy question. So you don't really want to get this because again, it's an easy question. But here's the thing. If you do get it, you still want to make sure that you can answer, especially on your exit. I'm going to tell you guys now, on your exit, there are going to be dosage calculation questions that is specifically focused on D over H, which is what? Doctor's order divided by what's on hand, multiplied by quantity, right? The basic one. There's also going to be reconstitution math. That's going to be on your exit. What's a reconstitution math? They give you a powdered medication. They tell you to mix that with, let's say for example, 2 ml of sterile water, and then they ask you how much of that medication you're going to give after mixing that medication. Reconstitution. You see that on the boards, okay? The other one, IV drip rate. You're going to get IV drip rate, that's for sure. So you need to know the formula on IV drip rate, which is drip rate is equals to volume in ml divided by the time in minutes times the drip factor. So don't worry, the formula is here, right there, okay? You need to remember that. Don't forget that, because that's the basic formula. Now, if you have other formula, as long as you can arrive to the right answer, I'm fine with that. You can use your own formula, okay? Because I know sometimes, we have different ways of solving problem in math. As long as you can arrive on it with the same answer, then we're good. But this is the most basic one in regards to drip rate. That's the most basic one when it comes to basic math, right? V over H times U. This one, very important. This is also on your exit and also when you take the NCLEX. It comes out also, the calculation of intake. Yeah.
Is there going to be any weight?
No.
No.
Weights, you're not really going to see a lot of that. Although, if you do encounter it, it's good to remember that what? 1 kilogram is equals to 2.2 pounds. That's all you really need to know there. 1 kilogram is equals to 2.2 pounds, okay? Now, when it comes to this one though, because you see this, 1 ounce is equals to 30 ml. Don't forget that. 1 ounce is equals to 30 ml. The exemption to that rule is that each ounce of ice is half an ml. So what does that mean? If you have 30 ml of ice, that's only what? That's only 15 ml. Okay, that's only 15 ml because it's half. It's always half. Always half. So 0.5 ml, that's pretty much what you're gonna get from 1 ml of ice. Okay? So if you get 30 ml of ice, you're gonna calculate that only as what? 15. So if you have 1 ounce of ice, you're just gonna calculate that as what? 15. Okay? Now, here's the rule. Be careful because I see a lot of this on your exit that the student misses it. When your answer is decimal, you have to put a 0 in the front. You have to have a leading 0. So if your answer is 0.5, you need to make sure you write 0.5. The same goes with NCLEX. If you only write 0.5 in your answer in NCLEX or in the exit, even if it's right, it will mark it wrong. Okay, it will mark it wrong. So that's very important to remember. The exit also has an instruction that says numeric values only. What does that mean? If you accidentally write the unit like ml, even if your value is correct, it will mark it wrong. Same with the NCLEX. So make sure, read carefully the instruction. If it says numeric values only, you're only gonna put what? Numbers. Okay? And you gotta remember how to round. Okay, and we'll do that. We'll do some rounding, but here's the general rule, right? So let's say, for example, let me just make this smaller. Right? Let's say, for example, let's see. Let's say, for example, we have 0.54, right? Let's say we have 0.54. And we want to round this because the MedMath tells you round your answer to the nearest tenths. If you need to round this, what would be your final answer? 0.5, right? That's the rule. Because the rule is any number that's 4 or less beside the number that you need to round, you keep the same number. Okay? But any number that is 5 or more beside the number you're gonna round, this number is gonna become what? 0.6. That's the rule. Don't forget that. That's an important rule. Because that's another thing where, you know, like students gets it wrong in rounding. Okay? And always remember, you only round the final answer. You do not round. Good morning. You only round the final answer, you never round while you're calculating. Okay, so while you're calculating, make sure that you have all of the numbers still the same. And when you arrive on the final answer, that's the only time you round. Okay? Alright. So, let's do some basic stuff here. Let's do this really quick, okay? So we can move on to our next topic. Let's try to calculate that one. Let's calculate that one, right? Very important, this is something that comes out, exit or NCLEX. You have to know IV drip rate. Because as an LPN, that is your responsibility. As an LPN, you don't give IV medication, but you do monitor the drip rate because that's something that you work with the RN. So you need to know what's the drip rate. Okay, when you take your exit or your NCLEX, they're gonna give you a whiteboard that you can use for calculation, but you also have a calculator on the screen. Exit, you'll be given a piece of paper that you have to return later on once you're done with the test, but you also have a calculator on the screen. Okay, so you have a calculator on the screen. If you want to use calculator, go ahead. That's fine with me, because anyway, you really have calculators on your test. Go ahead, try it. Let's see what you guys get. Okay, so let's answer it really quick. So in order for you to get the drip rate, remember the formula is volume in ml. So what's our volume? 400 ml. Now be careful because on your exit or on your NCLEX, if this says liters, you have to convert that to ml. So how many ml in 1 liter? 1,000. Very good. Okay. So you gotta remember that because usually it's not gonna be this easy. You might need to convert your volume from liters to ml. So you gotta remember that there's 1,000 ml in 1 liter, okay? Then I said that the volume is divided by the time in what? Minutes, right? So if we're gonna need to convert time from hours to minutes, what will be our time here? 480, right? So we're gonna get 480 minutes multiplied by the drift factor. What's our drift factor? 60, okay? So this is how we're actually gonna get the answer. So what did we arrive on right here? 50, very good. Numeric values only. Do not write the unit GTT per minute. Why? That's the rule. When you take your boards, when you take your exit, numeric values only. Alright? You need to stick with that. You gotta get used to that because that's how they're gonna ask you. So numeric values only. 50. Very good. Awesome. Good job. Hopefully everyone got that. Okay, here is another one. This one is basic though. I don't think we're gonna need to stay here that long. What do you guys think is the answer here? D over H times Q. Now here's the thing, where this actually gets tricky. Some of you confuses which one is the D, which one is the H, right? Some of you does that sometimes. You switch the numbers, okay? So, when it says the nursing is preparing to administer 3 milligrams, preparing to administer, is that the D or is that the H? That's the D, because that's what you're gonna give. Because that's what you're gonna give, okay? So if even if it didn't says the doctor ordered, but it's saying that the nurse is preparing, that means that's the D. That is the D. So if we're gonna follow, sorry. So if we're gonna follow the D over H, what is it gonna be? D, 3 divided by, it's gonna kill someone, huh? Oh, maybe I should go early. 3 divided by what? 5. There you go. Times what's our quantity?
1.
What's our quantity? 1. Alright. What's our answer?
0.6.
Alright. Woo! Very good, guys. 0.6. Yeah, I was like, where'd that 0.6 come from? Oh, that's the answer already. Alright. So 0.6. Did everyone get 0.6?
Yep.
Alright, very good. Very good. Next one. Alright. Intake calculation. Let's do this intake calculation. Intake. Remember our conversion. 1 ounce is equals to
30 ml.
30 ml. That's right. Let's do it. This one's not that bad. We don't have any ice here, so it should be okay. But don't forget, if you get ice, it's half of the quantity. Alright, so what's our answer, guys? What did we get?
1,140.
Alright, that's correct. Did everyone get 1,140? So how did we arrive there? Let's take a look. What do we need to know? The nurse is completing 8-hour INO record. Can we delegate INO to the UAP? Yes. Okay. Yes. Don't forget. Woo! Yes, alright. That's very important. Don't forget that. We can delegate that to the UAP, okay? Record for a client who consumed 4 ounces of clear soda. So what's that? 4 times 30? 120. Plus, are we gonna calculate the piece of toast?
No.
How about 12 ounces of water? Yes, what is that? 360. Very good. Plus, what's next?
8
1
ounces.
cup of flavored gelatin. Take note. Don't forget this. 1 cup is equal to 8 ounces. So if it's 8 ounces, how much is that?
240.
Times 30.
240.
240. Very good. Okay. What's next? Half a cup. How much is half a
4
cup?
ounces.
120. Very good. And then the client received 300 ml of what?
300.
IV fluid, which equals to 1,140. Did everyone get that? Yes.
So gelatin is also.
Correct. Gelatin, ice cream, okay? Yeah. Alright? Because gelatin is actually liquid at room temperature. Okay, guys? Don't forget that, okay? Are we clear with this?
Yes.
Yes? Alright. Very good. Okay. Last one. And then we'll move on to our next topic. Last calculation here. Reconstitution map. This is what we call reconstitution map. Don't worry about the row right here. Just get the actual answer. No rounding. Just get the answer.
And the last one, does ice cream count? Let's say it said ice cream, like a cup of ice cream. Does
Yes.
ice-
It counts as liquid because it's liquid at room temperature.
Oh, we didn't hear him. We were talking about it. We didn't hear him.
It is. It's alright, guys. Go ahead. It's alright, yeah. Gelatin and ice cream is liquid. So this is what we call again reconstitution map. Sometimes, student gets confused here, but in reality, I'll let you guys know it's really, not that confusing. You just have to know what you're gonna use.
0.6.
Alright, so what did we get?
0.6.
0.6, is that the right answer? Let's take a look. Okay, so here's the rule. So to make this easy for everyone, those who misses this, don't forget, the amount of fluid you actually add, you don't even use that. Don't even use it. That's just there to confuse you. So don't use that. Only use what? What the doctor ordered and what you have on hand after mixing it. So it's basically what? The same thing as what? V over H. Basically, that's what it is. Yeah, to make it simple. So it just comes out to 150 divided by 250 times 1, which is the quantity, which results into, what was our answer? 0.6. Very good. Did everyone get that? Alright, just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. That, again, that one right there, okay, you don't need to use the quantity. Okay, this one, the 1.8, no need to use that. That's only there to what? to distract you. Only use what is ordered and what you have on hand. Okay? Alright, very good. Okay, so with that said, last week I also mentioned, don't forget about your patient identifier, right? I said telephone number is a patient identifier also if you're gonna give medication. What qualifies as a patient identifier? Name, date of birth, medical record number, phone number. Okay? Pictures, or another member of the healthcare team or family member identifying the patient. I said for children, if you're ever going to be asked about children to identify a child patient, what do? You never ask a child, right? You actually ask an adult, you ask another member of the healthcare team to identify the child, or you use a picture to identify the child. Because it's not good to ask the child questions, okay? Okay, very good. Okay, so with that said, here we go. We're gonna go to the next one, and then we'll go and take a short break, okay? But here's our next topic. Fire safety. Okay, let's take a look. A nurse is in a long-term care facility, enters the day room, and finds the window curtains on fire. Clients are panicking, and the room is filling with smoke. Indicate the emergency action that the nurse must take in regards to fire safety. It's a select all the apply sequencing question. So you're gonna see something like this on your exit specifically, and even on your NCLEX, wherein you have to drag and drop and sequence what's going on. Drag and drop and sequence. Okay? Drag and drop and sequence. Okay, what do you think is the sequence? What do we have to follow? Race. That's very important. So if we're gonna follow race, what does race mean? Rescue, alarm, contain, right? Or evacuate or extinguish. So if we're gonna do this, what's the sequence? Remove the client first, right? Sound the alarm, right? Close the fire door, and then put out the fire or evacuate. That's how we're gonna do it. Okay? Is that clear? Alright, that's very important. Basic, but you know it does come out. Exit and NCLEX. Okay? One more thing before you go to the topic. It's for chemical disaster outdoor. Here's another one that comes out. Specifically though, you see this more on the exit. Although, just want to let you guys know, for NCLEX, they've been asking question on, what do you call this? Biological gas. So that's something that they've been asking on, especially anthrax, especially if it's been released outside. What do you do as a nurse when you have patient inside your facility? So don't forget that. NCLEX, I just heard that a few weeks ago with one of my students who took the NCLEX. Biological gas weapon. Okay, they've been asking that on the NCLEX. What do you do if it was released outdoors? Okay, same, pretty much applicable right here. We have a chemical disaster. It's happening outside. What do we do, right? What do we do? Alright, so what's our answer here? Alright, so let's see. What are the things that we're supposed to do if there's an outside or outdoor chemical problem or disaster? One thing very important to know, do not go out. All the patients stays indoors. No one comes out. That's a priority for you as a nurse, that everyone stays indoors, okay? Now, what you will do is, you won't pick A because you're not gonna evacuate the facility. You are gonna place wet towels though under the doors to make sure that none of that chemical goes into the door. You are gonna close all the doors and windows of the residents' apartments, all of that, even any type of vents or chimneys, all of that needs to be closed. So do not open and turn off the fans and heaters. So the answer is E, C, and B. E, C, and B. Okay? Alright. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a break. We will be back by 10 minutes.